Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you Walmart groundbreaking news, news about Kevin McCarthy, the City Oversight Board, presidential campaign changes, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitenick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. Well, is everyone still skeptical that the new super Walmart is going to be built? Well, Gary Parsons has announced that the city and Walmart have set the scheduled groundbreaking. It has been set for Friday, October 9th. Additionally, they are saying that we could start seeing actual work being started as soon as next week. The start of construction will involve closure of East Bowman Road from South China Lake Boulevard to Sunland Avenue. This construction will be to control stormwater runoff. City Engineer Lauren Culp yesterday said, "We are all set to go for construction." Yesterday evening, the Oversight Board to the City of Ridgecrest Successor Redevelopment Agency met. The meeting started with the swearing in of two new members to the board. Sworn in were John O'Gara and Duke Martin. John is an engineer on China Lake, and Duke Martin is a former city councilman. These new members will serve until 2018. After the swearing in, the board got down to work. They had two items on the agenda. Due to the absence of the board chairman, Gary Parsons filled in as chairman. Since there were two new members, Gary took the time to fully brief the new board on the issues before them. One issue Gary mentioned, that the city has been suing the state on a $3 million dispute since the RDA was dissolved by the state. The court has given a positive indication to the city by its order to the state that they should negotiate the suit with the city in good faith. That kind of shows a leaning towards the city by the court. So the city is now more positive it may get those $3 million of funds back. If they do, that will be an additional $3 million that can be reallotted for city use. The first agenda item involved the board approving the city's recognized obligations payment schedule for 2015 to 2016B. After a slight modification to pay for attorney fees, the board approved the plan. Next on the agenda was a transfer of Upjohn Park from the former RDA to the City of Ridgecrest. The park was built as a park to be included in the city park system. The board approved the transfer. As a result of the board's approval on these two items, their recommendation for approval now goes to the State Department of Finance for their approval. In news about our Congressman McCarthy, KZGN-TV of Bakersfield is providing the following report. Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy has been House Majority Leader for a little more than a year, and already there is growing speculation about a possible promotion. According to political website The Hill, there are growing discussions about McCarthy possibly taking over for John Boehner as Speaker of the House. The Hill says multiple members of the House Freedom Caucus have started kicking around the idea, and that one member of the caucus contacted McCarthy to let him know of growing support should Boehner resign or be forced out this fall. However, sources say McCarthy is not actively trying to gain support for the position. Neither Boehner nor McCarthy commented on the Hill story. However, Boehner spokeswoman Emily Schillinger said the current House Speaker is not going anywhere. In other Washington news, after last week's Democratic block of a bill to block funding for Planned Parenthood, the Senate came back yesterday with another version. Senate Republicans on Monday night started the Senate's fast-track process on legislation that will block federal funding for Planned Parenthood. Senator James Lankford, Republican out of Oklahoma, began the process known as Rule 14 that will allow the legislation to skip over the Senate's committee process and go straight to the floor where it can be brought up for a vote. The Senate will likely complete the process today. The legislation, which passed the House by a vote of 241 to 187, would place a one-year freeze on federal funding for the organization, giving lawmakers more time to investigate claims of wrongdoing by Planned Parenthood made in a string of controversial videos. The proposals come as Republican leadership is under pressure to cut off federal funding for Planned Parenthood ahead of an end-of-month deadline to pass a government spending bill. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican out of Kentucky, has pledged to not let the government shut down and called his party's push to defund Planned Parenthood as part of a spending bill an exercise in futility. But Congress's path to keep the government open remains unclear with only a handful of days left before the deadline. In news on the City of Los Angeles bid to host the 2024 Olympics, the International Olympic Committee just got an eyeful of the City of the Angels. Los Angeles is amazing and diverse. That is the message in a new promotional video released Monday by Los Angeles 2024 Olympic bid organizers. In the video, which is a little longer than a minute, LA is called the Western Capital of the U.S., the Northern Capital of Latin America, and the Eastern Capital of the Pacific Rim. All that is accompanied with amazing visuals of some of the city's most iconic sites. Hosting the games in Los Angeles would give our city the chance to show the world how much has changed in 40 years, Mayor Eric Garcetti said in a statement on the LA24 Bid Committee's website. This bid is a bold vision for an innovative, sustainable, and inspiring Los Angeles 2024 Olympic and Paralympic Games that will benefit our community, the International Olympic Committee, and the Olympic movement. Rome, Paris, Hamburg, Germany, and Budapest, Hungary are also vying to host the 2024 Games. In late July, it was announced Boston was withdrawing its bid to host the Games over financial concerns. A host city will be selected by the International Olympic Committee in September 2017. Now stay with us for news about the Republican presidential campaigns when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. In news from the Republican presidential campaigns, Wisconsin Governor Walker has suspended his bid for the White House. In his exit announcement, he encourages the other low-tier candidates to also suspend their campaigns. He feels by reducing the large field of candidates, the voters would be better able to focus on the top candidates and make their choices. He did fire a parting shot at Trump, though. In his encouragement for others to drop out, he said it would allow the voters to focus and choose a positive, serious candidate as the nominee, and not one that just ridicules the other candidates. So the campaign continues. Now it's time for the 79th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Here's today's topic. Do any of you believe that extremist terrorists may be in these waves of immigrants coming out of the Middle East into Europe? But first, a couple comments about last Thursday's editorial titled, What do you think about last night's Republican presidential debate? Harry said, I think that CNN did a much better job with this debate than Fox News did with the first debate. The real winners were the viewers that got to see some real interaction between the candidates. And Susie provided these comments. Carly Fiorina lied about who produced the video she had reference to about the baby on the table being cut apart. This was not Planned Parenthood. She also sounded like a warmonger by making the statement she would not talk to world leaders, i.e. Putin, yet surround their countries with U.S. troops. Well, Harry, seems some folks are criticizing CNN, but I agree they did a decent job, except the questions during almost the whole first segment of the debate worded to pit all the other candidates against Trump. And to Susie, thanks for submitting links to other websites on the Planned Parenthood controversy. It's clear the media is lining up stories in support of Planned Parenthood. But as more and more video continues to come out, things get worse and worse for Planned Parenthood. But all must realize that most conservatives really don't want to take away a woman's right to choose. The dilemma is that conservatives also feel that a baby in the woman's womb also is a living being that deserves the same protections as a delivered baby. Conservatives believe the right to choose should be exercised when the act of having sex is initiated by consenting adults. However, the issue as it relates to rape, incest, or the woman's health is a serious consideration that does have to be protected. Now, in today's editorial topic, do any of you believe that extremist terrorists may be in these waves of immigrants coming out of the Middle East into Europe? Well, this is a topic that there doesn't seem to be much discussion in the media. I did hear one pundit mention it, but no alarms have sounded yet. So, I'll sound the alarm. About 9 months ago, there was numerous stories in the media about the Muslim extremists' plan to take over the world. It was declared by ISIS that today the war is to establish a Shia homeland in Syria and Iraq. Once the new country is set up, then the march will be to take over all the Middle East, which includes wiping Israel off the map. That they would kill all Zionists and infidels. Now comes the biggie. In the dictate, they said the next step after wiping Israel off the map and killing all of them that remained, then the move would be to take Europe. Did you hear me? The move would be to take Europe. So now we have this huge exodus from that region of hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing Syria and other Mideast countries. Does anyone think that this would be a great way to export thousands of extremist soldiers into Europe? Europe is opening their arms to welcome these people in. I even saw news stories of regular citizens in Germany holding signs up welcoming these refugees into Germany. Okay, now I'm sure some of you will be quick to say that most of these people are not Muslim extremists. And to that point, I do agree. But in over millions of refugees, how many thousands of covert extremists might be among them? Can you just imagine them inserting 5,000 or 10,000 into every European country? Can you imagine how they would recruit additional fighters from within each country? The news is also already showing some of these refugees protesting and throwing stones against the police that are trying to control them. Do you think it's possible there could be some extremists fueling this rioting? This will get worse. There are so many of them. They could overrun the police trying to handle the thousands that are coming in. And now we have our own Washington people saying we should bring 100,000 of them over here too. Are you kidding me? Sure, let's just open our borders even farther and let in more people that may want to wipe us off the face of the earth. If you want to see more extremist attacks on U.S. soil, this will make it a reality. Can you imagine the United States where we read in the news every week of some attack on our own soil, in our own cities across America? Immigration has got to be controlled. Our forefathers could never have imagined the world in which we live now. Yet they knew that immigration needed to be controlled, that only a certain number of immigrants should be let into the country each year. And these immigrants would be required to assimilate into our way of life. But now, we are faced with millions of refugee immigrants invading Europe, and soon, maybe the U.S. Do we just let them suffer, though? No, we don't have to do that. We as a country should just help these refugees wherever they are, but not on U.S. soil. Because as soon as they hit our soil, they gain legal protections that they would not have off U.S. soil. Once they hit our soil, then we inherit all the costs and problems that will come with hundreds of thousands of refugees. There would be housing, food, medical, security, school, and a whole array of new costs to our fragile economy. But for me, the biggest worry is having those that want to kill us and wipe our way of life off the map. And if I was a woman, I'd really be afraid of this new influx of new refugees. Society as we know it today, while not perfect in any way, would change for the worse to levels that you can't even imagine. Imagine a Boston Marathon attack happening every week somewhere on our soil. Remember, the Muslim extremist goal is not to just take over the world, but to make everyone Muslim extremists. Oh, and let me add that these comments are not directed to anyone in our community. These are fine people that contribute to an America they love. And my concern is not directed to Muslims. It is directed to terrorist extremists wanting to wipe us off the map. I'm talking about the extremists that are hiding within the millions of refugees that are flowing out of the Middle East into Europe. In conclusion, yes, I believe extremists are within those millions of refugees flowing out of Syria, Iraq, and now even Lebanon. If you support letting these people flow into our country, you'll see the day that it was a huge mistake. Start telling the president, helping them is okay, but do not bring them onto our soil. I'm Tom Whitney, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial, or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Stay with us for weather and sports after the break. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, excessive rainfall is expected across the desert southwest as the remnants of Tropical Depression 16E continues to move inland. Forecasted rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches will be common across much of Arizona, New Mexico, and Southern California, with isolated showers. Flash flooding is possible across the region. Currently, there is no watches or warning for us here in the IWV. Temperatures across the nation: Carolinas came in at 77, Georgia 71, Arkansas 81, Northern Texas 77, New Mexico 64, and Los Angeles at 74. For our forecast here in the IWV, tonight mostly clear with a low around 66, southwest wind 15 to 20 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. On Wednesday, sunny with a high near 96, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low around 67, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. On Thursday, will be sunny with a high near 99, northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Thursday night, mostly clear with a low around 72, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. On Friday, it will be sunny and hot with a high near 101, west-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. Friday night, mostly clear with a low around 70, south-southwest wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Saturday, sunny with a high near 98, west wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, mostly clear with a low around 70, west wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25. And on Sunday, sunny with a high near 96, west wind 5 miles per hour. And as a look at your local forecast for the IWV, now back to Tom and the rest of the KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. Let's go to Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Tuesday afternoon to everyone. Let's start with Monday Night Football. The New York Jets are 2-0. They haven't been 2-0 in about 6 years. They win their first 2 games of the season under new coach Ted Bowles. The Jets won last night by a count of 20-7. Looked very good on the defensive side of things. The Colts didn't look very good on any side of the football last night. So, NFL kind of shaping up this year. The 49ers not quite what they've been. The Steelers look pretty good at times. The Cardinals look really good all of the time so far. The Rams don't look so good. The Titans don't look so good. The Eagles look okay. The Cowboys are better. The Bears don't look so good. Tampa Bay much better. Also, the Dolphins much better this year. So we have a lot of teams that haven't been that good that are better. The Texans, who were really good last year, are 0-2 this year. Kansas City looks about the same. New England looks pretty good right now that Brady's playing all the time. So it's going to be a very interesting NFL season. That's what makes the NFL fun. A lot of parity. Okay, let's talk about baseball. The Angels lost last night in Texas. Houston beat them 6-3. Jared Weaver gets the loss. Angels scored a couple in the 9th inning. They made it interesting, but came a few bucks short. Now the 2 teams play again tonight, and also tomorrow afternoon. The Angels find themselves now 3.5 games behind Houston for the last wild card position. The Angels also trail Minnesota now by a half a game. Minnesota plays tonight against Cleveland, a 3-game series. The Indians, the other team, with an outside chance to get that second wild card. The Indians trail the Angels by only 1 game going into play tonight. Toronto beat the Yankees, so Toronto now has a 4.5 game lead in the East. They've opened that up a little bit. The Yankees, however, have the number 1 spot in the wild card. The Mets beat Atlanta 4-0. They now have a 6.5 game lead on Washington. The Nationals were rained out last night in the nation's capital against the Orioles. The Cubs beat Milwaukee 9-5. Boy, the Cubs are playing really well. St. Louis gets by Cincinnati 2-1. They did 2 runs in the 9th inning to win that one. And then Pittsburgh beat Colorado. So right now, the way it stands, Pittsburgh 4.5 games behind St. Louis for the league leadership. St. Louis has been in first place all year, the best record in baseball. The Pirates have the number 1 wild card. The number 2 goes to the Cubs, and those teams are about 3 games from each other. Now, that's important because the winner there, whoever finishes second in the Central, will be the host team for the 1-game winner-take-all wild card game. It's going to be a lot of fun here in a few weeks when we start things for the playoffs. All right, also, Cincinnati over San Diego this weekend in football. I forgot to mention the Chargers, 24-19. Chargers 0-2. Hard to say if they're really better or worse than last year. Okay, the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a 7-game lead over San Francisco. The Dodgers lost last night in Arizona. Same 2 teams play tonight. Now this weekend coming up, Friday night, Burroughs football, they'll be over at Barstow. We'll have more on that. Freshman and JV will also be in action. And you can, tonight, right after the news, you can watch our Tuesday night sports talk. We'll have Chris Branson and his son Corbin. They'll be talking about community IWV sports and club sports in the area. That's your sports for this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's some news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Coming up next, Ridgecrest Talk.